Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, and with me, of course, is the amazing gamer.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. You know what? Why don't you go ahead and tell them what it is that we're doing?
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going back, all the way back to the Steven Spielberg classics to take a look at one of his greatest pieces of work that's way up there with stuff like The Goonies, possibly even better. Today, we'll be looking at Jurassic Park.
Yes, and actually, this is the start of the Jurassic Park marathon, leading up to when Jurassic World Dominion comes out. So me and the Amazing Gamer will be reviewing the Jurassic Park films, and of course, these are coming out, and when it leads up to when Jurassic Park. No, I mean Jurassic World Dominion. I meant when that comes out. So yeah. So of course we are starting off with Jurassic Park. Boy, there's so much that we could say. Like, what are the first things that we have to say? Like, starting with you.
This movie is easily one of my favorites from childhood and present day, which any of my
Yeah.
fans would know if they saw my top 10 favorite childhood movies. The music in this film is jaw-dropping. The animatronic movement and CGI, especially considering the time it was released, is phenomenal and still holds up.
Oh
The
yeah.
actors and actresses picked, great choice. The timing of like the tensity and the comedy is great. The storytelling, character development, world building, scene building, everything about this movie is so perfectly paced and so perfectly welded together and wraps up with a neat little bow in the best way. I don't know how to describe it.
Oh yeah. I couldn't agree more right there. In fact, because speaking of the dinosaurs, like from like animatronics by the amazing like Stan Winston and his company to the CG, the CG like shots of the dinosaurs by ILM, especially since this was in 1993. They really approved of like how they did the dinosaurs, like even before, say, well, 2 years later we get the first ever like computer animated feature, Toy Story. So and I do recall, because you know what, at one point the dinosaurs were going to be stop motion instead of CGI. Do you recall that?
I don't recall that. No, that's an interesting fact there.
Yeah, I think it was Phil Tippett. I think, yeah, because Phil Tippett at ILM, he was best known for his stop motion work, and he was like going to do the dinosaurs like in stop motion, but and they do, it looks pretty amazing. Like there's a bit of like footage of, say, the stop motion reels of the dinosaurs, like specifically the scene with the velociraptors in the kitchen. Like there's that. But unfortunately that didn't come to be, and instead they wound up with the dinosaurs being CG, which that still turned out pretty good.
Indeed, especially considering this came out in when did this movie come out? I think it came out in like 1980 something,
No,
1986.
what, Jurassic Park?
The first one, yeah.
1993.
Oh, 1993. What was I on there?
You're thinking of the 1980s. um, yeah, so, and also, like, okay, that opening sequence, the opening scene of Jurassic Park, like, that was a way to start it off.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, the music. I think that's the first thing people can pick up when watching this film, when booting it up, is just the stomping of the drums and the choir music in the background. Then when you see the Jurassic Park logo, it just plays that classic da, da, with that ominous
Yeah.
like forest sounds in the background. It's so intense.
Yep, John Williams, because it's his music and score. He gets the job done.
He definitely does, and nailed it for the first movie as well.
Yeah, um, definitely. And also, like, talk about the characters. Like, okay, like first off, like, what do we have to say about the characters? Like from Alan Grant and Ellie and Ian.
All right, so um, I guess about the characters. Alan Grant, he and his team with his wife, Ellie.
Yeah.
I believe they are married in this movie, aren't they?
You know, to be honest, I don't think obviously I don't think it was established that they were married. I guess they were kind of together. You know what? Even when have you seen you've seen Nostalgia Critic's review of Jurassic Park, have you?
Oh yeah, countless times.
Me too. See, he even couldn't make up like the relationship between Dr. Grant and Ellie. Like, you know, he couldn't make that up either. And I'm not really sure, like, okay, like that one part, like where that one scene where Alan Grant, he is like confronting this little boy, you know, and like kind of scaring him and telling him about the velociraptors, that scene.
Yes, and when the boy questions it to say it doesn't look very scary, more like a 6-foot turkey.
Exactly, and like Dr. Grant sets him straight. But then after that, like, okay, if this like it's a little bit established, like, you know, like Alan Grant like saying to Ellie, you know, you want to have one of those, and she's like, I don't want that kid. Like, that's kind of what we get, I guess.
Yeah, and I do like, again, the comedy in this is just great.
Yeah, and then of course, like, okay, then of course we of course have John Hammond. What do we have to say about John Hammond?
John Hammond, played by the late Richard Attenborough. He will be missed.
Yes, he will.
And he delivers a stellar performance in this movie. It is absolutely mind-blowing. He indeed does play the role of John Hammond, who is looking to have an agreement or something signed with realtors and lawsuits going against the park of living dinosaurs, and he needs Alan Grant and Dr. Sattler to sign off on the park and, you know, get those lawyers out of there so he can actually open this place up, because he has big plans for Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And unlike the lawyers, his dream is to just show the world these creatures and how fascinating it can be to bring back billions and billions of years or millions of years old creatures, and how can they just easily be brought back? But of course, lawyers are just in it for the money, and the one we see, which is Gennaro, that bites, so to speak, him in the backside.
Oh yeah. And also about John Hammond, because I did read about this, that the author of because you remember that Jurassic Park, it is based off of a book.
It is, and the book is apparently much more gruesome than the movie.
Yeah, and Michael Crichton, like, if I'm saying his last name right, I read about this, that he intended, because the author intended John Hammond to be a dark Walt Disney.
A dark Walt Disney, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And also, we get Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm. What do we have to say about Ian?
He's amazing in this movie. Jeff Goldblum is amazing in any piece of media he's in, especially this one.
Yeah, and if I recall, that Jurassic Park is what like got like Jeff Goldblum into high gear, like, you know, got him like really into high gear of acting and like boost his popularity, I guess.
Indeed, this was the movie to really kick off his career, because he only starred in like smaller known movies. He was still a known actor, but not as well known as Jurassic Park, and this is what really, I think for everyone, like Richard Attenborough, this is really what kicked off his career as well. Because he was John Hammond. He was the man that owned Jurassic Park after this film.
Exactly, you are right. So yeah, and that's the word I was looking for. Like, yeah, this film kicked Jeff Goldblum's career, and so on the island, of course, and that famous sequence where they're, you know, Dr. Grant, Ian, and Ellie, they're seeing the dinosaurs for the first time, like, up close, the Brachiosaurus, and, you know, and John Hammond saying the famous lines, you know, my dear Dr. Grant, and, you know, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
And that epic score playing. Well, it's actually...
No one can ever forget that music. It is so iconic.
Well, actually, the music that plays after he says "Welcome to Jurassic Park" is, you know, da na 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 na.
those two themes are just so iconic.
Exactly. And also that sequence as they make their way to the building, like we get the appearance of Mr. DNA. Do we have anything to say on Mr. DNA?
Mr. DNA is actually he's basically just the guy in the movie, folks. That he's like a little cartoon character, obviously to appeal to the kids that will be visiting the park.
Yeah.
Explaining how they got dinosaur DNA from a tree sap's, like basically what are they called, mosquitoes, was trapped in a tree sap, and they extracted the DNA carefully from the tree sap, and the mosquito, boom, easily dino DNA, and mixing that with frogs, West African frogs, I think they are as well, which comes into play later. They're easily able to make dinosaur DNA, and we see just a moment later they are looking at raptor eggs, which one of them is actually hatching. We see a little baby raptor.
Yes, we do. And I think, yeah, Alan Grant is not pleased about them, like, you know, making like raptors, as I recall. Because that's the thing, like, I guess Alan Grant has like a feud bit like over raptors, if I'm correct.
Yeah, because like even at the beginning of the movie, we saw that he was talking about the raptors, because even the word raptor means bird of prey.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, a little bit later on, we, of course, get the appearance of John Hammond's, grandkids.
Yep, Lex and Timmy.
Yeah. Lex and Tim Murphy, yeah. They were, like, what do we have to say about them? Like, they were good, weren't they?
They were really good performances, and, like, this obviously was from a time where child actors could genuinely be good. Like, the kids felt like kids, but they weren't stupid.
Yeah.
They knew how to probably respond in the situation. But I think that's just Spielberg's magic working, because he knew how to write kids of that time. Especially with, like, look at Goonies as well, once again, in comparison.
Yeah, exactly. And a couple other characters that we didn't mention that much, like, of course, like, say, there was Robert, what's his last name, played by Bob Peck, and the lawyer, Donald, well, his first name's Donald, and also Wayne Knight as Dennis. Do we have anything to say on those characters?
Dennis Nedry, who, fun fact, also plays the fat guy in Toy Story 2. They are the same person.
Yes, Al in Toy Story 2.
Yeah, Al in Toy Story 2, that's his name.
He was also in the first Space Jam film, and he would voice the evil Emperor Zurg in Buzz Lightyear Star Command, and he was in the Third Rock to the Sun, that sitcom, so...
Indeed he was.
Yeah. So, like, he was like, I don't... How do I, like... To describe this, like, I don't know... Was there really a main villain to the first Jurassic Park film? I feel like it was kind of mutual, just random.
Yeah, this was more like one of those movies that has it's more like just a problem that they need to get through. It's a survival thriller action film, I believe this is. There's no proper villain. I mean, sure, it's all Dennis's fault that, like, everything that happened because of him and his greed.
Yeah.
We'll get into that pretty soon, folks. Don't worry.
We're getting close, yeah. And also, it's hard to believe because, yeah, even, like, say this was in the early 90s and before, like, I guess, really, like, his career kicked off and he's been in so much lately. Ray Arnold, played by Samuel L. Jackson.
Indeed. And when I was a kid, I didn't even know who Samuel L. Jackson was because, like, I wasn't a bigger fan of stuff like Marvel back in the day, but now I know it's like, oh my god, it's Samuel L. Jackson. I didn't even notice that as a kid.
Yeah, and what about, say, Star Wars?
And Star Wars, definitely. The Senate will decide your fate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing, because, like, well, in Phantom Menace, he really didn't appear that much, but that was until, like, episodes 2 and 3 happened. And yeah, so for Jurassic Park, like, he was Ray Arnold, and... like one of his famous lines, hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts.
Yep. And also, like, and another character, two other characters that I did mention, because we were talking a lot about Dennis, like, there was the lawyer, Donald, and Robert, like, what's his last name, played by Bob Peck. Is anything we have to say on them?
Pardon me. Yeah, I do like the hunter character, who we do see at the beginning of the movie, just before we run into um, Alan Grant. He goes through an experience. He knows a lot about raptors. That's very well established, because one of the raptors ended up killing one of his men when docking them into the paddock at the beginning of the film, and is convinced that this whole park, though he's happy to be a part of it, isn't the best idea. Because his first line when he walks back on screen and sees Alan is, they should all be destroyed.
Exactly. Yeah, and I like how where they're in like the control room or whatever with the computers, and especially when it comes up to that sequence where they're in the jeeps, the like activated jeeps, whatever, and well, at one point they all get everybody like gets out of the activated like jeeps to go up to like what's going on in the Brachiosaurus, and you hear him say, and then he says, you know, how many times do I have to tell you? We need locks on those doors.
Yeah, we need locking mechanisms on the vehicle doors.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's the line. Yeah. Oh gosh, and I have to mention this. Like, it's pretty funny because as they make their way up to the entrance, and you hear the voice. Who voiced the? It's not really showing, but I do know who it is, but I can't remember. I can't remember his name. Yeah, because after the voice says "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and then one line that Ian says, what do they got in there? King Kong?
King Kong.
Yeah, there's that. And then, of course, we get that sequence where they come up to a sick Triceratops.
Indeed. Not before also going past a few paddocks, like a raptor and Dilophosaurus, which don't show up, and there is a pretty funny scene where Ian taps on the camera glass and says, surely you're supposed to have dinosaurs in your dinosaur park, and John Hammond is just watching the screen just thinking, I really hate that, man.
I knew you were going to say that, yeah. Even I was going to mention that. Because he's just sitting there just calmly, and as he says it, you know, I really hate that man. And, oh god, especially one famous line from that, well, and again, in the Triceratops sequence from Ian, that is one big pile of shit.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That is one of the most well-known lines Jeff Goldblum has ever said.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, and a quick mention, because we mentioned Nostalgia Critic a bit earlier. I forget how he says it, but right before he plays that clip, he says something like, you know, and here's a line the kids will like. However he says it. Yeah. And so, and also when Dennis starts doing his plans and such, and Yak, you know, getting DNA samples of the dinosaurs, putting it in that fake whipped cream can, whatever it is that Dachshund lended him.
Yeah, shaving cream and stuff. Yeah.
Shaving cream, that's right. Yeah, in that sequence, you know, don't get cheap on me, Dachshund. And he does that, and even when it starts hitting on, it starts coming to John and Ray and Robert of what's going on, and with Dennis, and especially, you know, on Dennis's computer, and, you know, an image of Dennis comes up, you know, you didn't say the magic.
You didn't say the magic word.
Please.
God damn it! I hate this hacker crap.
I hate this hacker crap. Yeah. And of course, the infamous sequence, the T-Rex.
The most iconic scene in any Jurassic Park movie.
Yes.
I think we can all unitedly agree that this scene is perfect.
Exactly. From when, you know, the T-Rex breaks out of the fence knot, you know, that because it's been shut off, and he ate the goat. Yeah, because the goat showed up earlier and he ate the goat, and attacking the one Jeep where Lex and Tim they're in, and you know, Alan Grant and Ian save them, even Ian trying to get the T-Rex to walk away and so on, and even when the T-Rex does eat the lawyer, because the lawyer ran into the bathroom, and just, you know, he was chicken basically, and he was hiding.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
And I guess that line I said earlier about him being bitten in the bottom by just being in the game for money, that's what happens when you're just in the game for money, folks. You get eaten by a T-Rex.
Yeah, and a callback earlier to what John Hammond said, even Nostalgia Critic kind of did this in his review, what Hammond said earlier to Donald, in 48 hours, I will be accepting your apologies.
I'm sorry I ever took you on as a client.
That would make it, did that make it, like, up to 45 hours later, like, at that time, because
I think at that time it was about 45 hours, yeah.
Oh, so it would have been almost close to 48 hours, but it was a bit early.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And also, another, like, infamous sequence, I guess, yeah, where Dennis gets his demise,
Yeah, his well-deserved demise when running into a Dilophosaurus after very closely, because it was foreshadowed that there was going to be a storm and there was a boat waiting for the people to get off the island before the storm struck. And his plan was to take the dinosaur DNA, make his profit once he had left the island, but not before Dilophosaurus stops him and gobbles him up.
Exactly. And, like, his plans had, of course, never came to be, and especially the fake shaving cream just, like, left there, and, like, yep, he failed on what he was accomplishing. And also, like, at one point, yeah, Ellen saves Tim because, like, the Jeep was knocked over by the T-Rex and landed in a tree. He gets Tim out of there, and of course, they, do run into, like, say, the Brachiosaurus up in a tree. Like, what do we have to say about that sequence?
I think it's a pretty nice sequence. Like, it shows that, like, not all of the dinosaurs are absolutely terrifying. Of course, Lex is quick to criticize because she is quite scared, but of course, Tim knows all there is to know about the dinosaurs. Like, it's a Vegisaurus. It
Exactly.
eats vegetables.
And yet, even Lexi established this earlier that she's a vegetarian too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a genuinely cute scene as well.
But that is until when the Brachiosaurus sneezes on her.
Yeah. God bless you.
I know, yeah. And the look on her face, because it is gross, like the snot. And it's just amazing. You could tell, because, okay, there are shots with the Brachiosaurus from an animatronic to it being CG.
Yeah, and it's really clever how they do that as well. Like, I couldn't even tell the difference for the first couple watches. Even recently, I had to literally pause the movie to look really closely, and I was like, oh yeah, it is CGI and then puppetry.
Yeah, even I can tell too, like, because of course watching it several times, and also, yeah, because even at one point, like, Ian got injured after, well, what the T-Rex did, and when he, like, kind of destroyed, like this, like, rest stop and eating the lawyer, and of course, Robert and Ellie, they save Ian, and that another great sequence, of course, is the Jeep chase, between the Jeep and the T-Rex.
Yeah, and the pacing as soon as it begins is like Ian looking down to the floor at the T-Rex footprint, the water in the puddle is just not moving, then all of a sudden it vibrates and you're like, oh no, it's coming back.
Yeah, and that one shot where Robert looks at, like, the car window and sees the T-Rex.
It's like things in the mirror are closer than they appear, which was also referenced in Toy Story 2 as well.
I was going to mention that too. Toy Story repeated that joke.
Dinosaur overboard!
Slow down! Yeah, that scene. Mr. Potato Head looks into the, like, car window. And so, fast forwarding, like, yeah, because Dr. Grant and the two kids, like, they're roaming around and, like, almost running into the T-Rex at one point, and then when they get up to the electric fence, that was pretty funny when, like, Alan Grant, like, pulled a joke on them, like, pretending to be electrocuted.
Yeah,
yeah.
That wasn't funny.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, Tim thought it was funny. And also, like, okay, when everybody, like, also between that and with the others, like, still in the building, John and Ray and Ellie and Ian and Robert, well, at one point, they turn off the power and, well, Ray goes off to, like, turn the power back on, and it would take 5 minutes, and yet, that would be the last we see of Ray, and he would get killed and eaten by the Velociraptors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, there's one thing that is incorrect, and that is, well, John and Ian, they're like talking about Disneyland and parts of the Caribbean. John gets this wrong. He says, about the opening of Disneyland in 1956. It opened in 1955.
Ooh, 1 year off.
I know. How did John get that wrong? How did the movie get that wrong? Even my mom I remember my mom talking about that a couple of times, complaining about that, even
that has to have been a spelling mistake in the script. That has to have been, or a writing mistake or whatever.
That could be that could be like that could be possible. I don't know. Like I haven't even like looked this up, nor if the trivia on the film's IMDb page mentions that. I don't know, but I should. But most notably, I should know that on its IMDb page, like with the goofs, like obviously it's one goof. So, but also. Robert meets his demise when, he gets killed and eaten by one velociraptor, and his last line, clever girl.
Clever girl, yeah, because at the beginning of the movie it was foreshadowed by Alan that raptors don't hunt by themselves. They hunt in herds, or like packs of 4. So when one raptor is being watched by Robert, another one sneaks up to his left and literally smells him, and he just looks to his left without being able to react in time and just dies. But he died a hero because he gave Ellie some time to sneak into the electric shed.
Yeah. Don't you think that obviously when he knew that the velociraptor was right in front of him, and he turned around, and even when he said his famous last line, clever girl, I guess he obviously knew he was going to die.
Yeah, I think he knew he was going to die, yeah. But he didn't lose his cool, luckily.
Nope. No, but I think I did recall hearing him scream a little bit when he was being attacked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As anyone would if a dinosaur was ripping their face off.
Yeah. And also, yeah, Ellie, running away from the velociraptors. And, okay, I think my mom and I watched Jurassic Park not too long ago, and she was talking about, say, how with Ellie, why is she limping? She's not really hurt or anything like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I found that a little weird too. It's is that a mistake on just acting on the spot, or did she injure herself while, maybe when she jumped down in that one shot, I think she might have jumped down somewhere, she hurt her leg? I don't know.
Yeah, I get, maybe, because in that, and where she is inside, I would assume, I guess we both assume, I don't know, probably. You could be right. That's what I'm wanting to think, too.
Yeah.
And that's when, a little bit earlier, there was this one sequence where, Hammond, because he was saying to Ellie that, he wanted to create something that was not an illusion. And unfortunately, it all went completely wrong, and and for what he wanted.
Yeah, he always, he did explain as a kid, he would always watch the flea circus,
yeah.
But he wanted people to feel like they were actually part of the experience and something they could witness firsthand and that really feel something when they look at it.
Exactly.
And he thought just bringing dinosaurs back, these well-known creatures that the whole world knows about, these extinct, perfect, beautiful animals, but with that came a price of responsibility, and that responsibility and connection to it was broken. And
yeah.
Now it's chaos. Just like how Jeff Goldblum said earlier in the movie, life finds a way.
Exactly. And also to kind of speed things up, that infamous kitchen sequence where Lex and Tim, they're in the kitchen and the raptors are just about close to spotting them and get them.
Yeah, another iconic scene as well, because this is referenced a million times over, the spoon falling over when Tim's holding all the utensils and then just ding, and then all the raptors just jump up on the tables and everything. It's
yeah.
Come on, typical Spielberg.
Yeah, and then of course, Lex and Tim, they reunite, say, with Alan and Ellie, and and Lexi, being an expert on computers, gets everything activated and such, and even the phones. And when Alan calls John, and that's when the raptors come in, and that one shot where close up shot of John and grab. can't! Because he knows that just, like, all hell was breaking loose. And
yeah, because his grandkids were in there and the Raptors had cornered them. He was really mortified during that phone call.
Exactly. But then also, like, when they come up to the main hallway, and that's when, right before the Raptors are getting them, the T-Rex out of nowhere comes in and, like, fights off against the Raptors.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I still question how the T-Rex got in the room without anyone hearing it, and how it's able to fit through the small doors or anything.
Never established whatsoever. He just, like, the T-Rex just shows up right there.
It's like he just teleported in, like, hey guys, I'm here to save the day, what's up?
And that's another thing, too, like, don't you think, like, I think even my parents, I even asked the same question to my parents, and I think, yeah, they were agreeing, too. Like, don't you think, like, this was the moment where the T-Rex was a hero?
This was indeed the T-Rex's moment, especially when Grant and Ellie and the kids and John Hammond escape in the Jeep. I've decided not to endorse your park. So have I.
Yeah.
And the classic Raptor gets thrown across the room, and the banner falls down with the T-Rex roaring.
Yeah.
Oh, so iconic.
Yes, and John Hammond just having one last look around the island, because he knows that what he had dreamed of and hoped that would turn out really good, it just sadly never came to be.
Yeah, like Ellie said, just never having control. It's the illusion.
Yep, yeah. Exactly. And the ending is pretty nice because there's no dialogue and such. It's just all of them in the helicopter and just flying off into the sunset. Like that's a great way to end the film.
Yeah, especially with like the piano music in the background of the main theme. It's really nice.
Yeah, we do get a little bit of piano music, but that's when the credits roll, we get the orchestra playing.
Yeah, it's a truly lovely send-off to the movie in the sunset with the helicopters. Our heroes are safe. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. Okay, so what are the last things we have to say about Jurassic Park?
This movie is truly... It really stands the test of time. It's still aged incredibly well. I genuinely love it. Steven Spielberg, you're a genius, dude.
Yes.
And really looking forward to the final big wrap-up with Jurassic World 3. Looking forward to reviewing more of these movies, and the first one's always going to be my favorite, because it's the original, it began everything. Though some of the visuals look a little weird, and there's a few nitpicks, it's still a great time, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to watch a family film.
All that you said, I couldn't have agreed more, my friend. And you already said, yeah, because... You know, we still have the rest of the Jurassic Park films in the franchise to review, but of course, before we wrap things up, like, how do we rate Jurassic Park?
I'd rate it easily. I'm going to rate it a 10. I got to rate it a 10 out of 10. It has stood the test of time more than any film from its time that I'd seen before. 1993, I think this came out, was that right?
1993, correct.
1993, and... by any other movie from the 90s, I don't know how Spielberg does it, but his movies always just... It feels like it was only made yesterday. I mean, this movie was even in 2013 or 16 re-released in theaters, and everyone loved it.
I know.
That's how great it is.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I remember seeing it a couple of times when it was re-released, from 3D into when, like, one of my local movie theaters screening it, yeah. So, and same, I give it 10 out of 10, definitely 10 out of 10. And it's funny to think, because you know what? The final Jurassic Park film in the Jurassic Park franchise, for now, is coming out a year before Jurassic Park celebrates its anniversary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we got to do something for that anniversary as well.
Definitely, absolutely, yeah. Just like celebrating, we'll see what happens, definitely. But with all that being said, we give the first Jurassic Park film a 10 out of 10. It was great for us to review this, and there's still more to come, reviewing the rest of the Jurassic Park franchise, and I look forward for us to continuing doing this.
Indeed, so do I.
Yep. So until next time, guys, and yep, again, the Jurassic Park marathon has begun, so look forward to me and Amazing Gamer reviewing the rest of the films. We'll see you guys in the next video/review, and until we review Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World, take care, and peace out.